Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever feel like time just flies by when you are doing something you love, but crawls when you are bored or stressed? Well, this new study dives into why that happens, and how some people might be better at keeping their internal clock steady than others. So what if I told you that your musical talent might actually change how you experience time? This research suggests that being a musician could make you less susceptible to distractions when it comes to judging how long something lasts. Let's start with the big idea here. We all know that things related to ourselves tend to grab our attention more. Think about seeing your own name or face, or even just something you own. This is called self-reference, and the idea is that because these things are so important to us, they automatically pull our focus. Now imagine you are trying to judge how long a sound or a visual object lasts. If something related to yourself suddenly pops up and demands your attention, it makes sense that your ability to accurately track the time might get a little wobbly. It is like juggling. If someone throws an extra ball at you unexpectedly, you might drop one of the others. This is where the musicians come in. The researchers wondered if people who spend years training their ears and bodies to be super precise with timing, like musicians do, might be different. Does all that practice build a kind of shield that protects their time perception from these personal distractions? Here is how they tested this fascinating idea. They gathered a group of people, some who had lots of musical training and some who didn't. Both groups were then asked to do a time judging task. They actually ran two experiments. In one, participants looked at abstract visual shapes. In the other, they listened to simple tones. The key trick was that these shapes and tones were randomly assigned as self-associated or other-associated. So one shape might be linked to me and another to someone else. This wasn't based on any meaning the shapes already had, but purely on what the researchers told the participants. During the experiment, participants would see or hear a stimulus for a certain amount of time. Then they had to do two things. First, they judged if the stimulus was long or short compared to some examples. Second, they had to confirm whether they remembered if it was associated with self or other. This second part was important to make sure they were paying attention to the association. Now, the tricky part is how they measured temporal precision. Think of it like this. If you throw darts and they all land really close together, even if they're not all on the bullseye, you have good precision. If they're scattered all over, your precision is bad. In this study, they looked at how consistently people judge durations. If someone's judgments were all over the place, especially for self-associated items, their precision was lower. First, let's talk about bias. Did associating something with self make people think it lasted longer or shorter? Surprisingly, the answer was no. For both musicians and non-musicians, there was no real difference in whether they felt a self-associated item lasted longer than another associated item. This means the self-connection didn't warp their overall sense of how long things were. But here is where it gets really interesting. When they looked at temporal precision, how consistent or reliable their time judgments were, they found a big difference. For the people without musical training, when the stimulus was linked to self, their time judgments got messier. Their precision dropped. It was harder for them to be consistent in their short verses. Long judgments when the stimulus felt personal. But for the musicians, their precision stayed the same whether the stimulus was linked to self or other. They were just as good at judging durations, just as consistent, no matter what the stimulus was associated with. This effect was seen in both visual and auditory experiments, though it was a bit stronger and more reliably found in the auditory one. So, what does this all mean? The researchers are suggesting that when something is linked to the self, it grabs our attention. For most of us, this demand on our attention makes our timing less precise. It is like our attention is divided and timekeeping suffers. But for musicians, all that training might have rewired their brains. They've learned to be incredibly good at focusing on precise timing. Even when other things are going on, they might be better at splitting their attention, or perhaps their internal timekeeping system is just more robust. This is neat because it shows that expertise isn't just about being good at one specific skill. It can actually change how your basic cognitive processes like time perception work. It is like practicing an instrument makes your ears more sensitive, or practicing a sport makes your reflexes faster. Practicing timing seems to make your internal clock more resilient to distractions. Now, of course, no study is perfect. This research used abstract shapes and tones, so we don't know if the same thing would happen with more personally meaningful things, like your favorite song or a photo of a loved one. Also, they looked at musicians, but there could be other types of experts who also show this resilience. But overall, this is a really cool insight into how our minds work. It suggests that our experience and practice can literally shape our perception of something as fundamental as time. For musicians, it might mean that their deep engagement with rhythm and timing has given them a powerful cognitive tool, a way to stay grounded in the present moment, even when life throws self-related distractions their way. So, the next time you are listening to music or even just trying to focus on a task, remember that your brain is constantly working to measure time, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of musical practice could help you keep that internal clock ticking more steadily. What do you think about this study? Does it make sense to you that musical training could affect time perception? Let me know in the comments below, and if you found this interesting, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Rubin's Mind Lab for more fascinating research explained simply. We'll see you next time.